This is the same data, same information we start all together with, whether it's rocks, fossils, and whatever. The difference is evolution people distort the data, number one, and then add plenty of time to the data. This is their interpretation. Creation people just look at the data, think a little while, and get out of this data beautiful creation. And this is basically the difference between a trained mind and a spiritual spirit. People would love to add lots of lines and lots of time, but they don't like to look into the data as per the Bible told us. So what is the difference between theistic evolution or evolution in general and creation? It is debate over origins. So what is the origin of time and space, the origin of matter, the origin of energy, the origin of intelligence, the origin of life, the origin of morals, feelings, languages? Ask a theistic evolutionist or atheist, their answer would be, we don't know, but we are certain there is no creator. Ask any of atheists about the origin of these 8 things, they would say, no way there is a creator, but we don't know where these things come from. You ask a creationist and he would say, we know and we are certain that there is a creator, because there is no other explanation, logical explanation to have all this list without having a creator in the middle. So we have got uncertain faith, based on faith. All the things of evolution is just based on uncertain faith, alternative faith to having God. Christians would have a certain faith in their creator. So atheistic view would say everything came into existence out of nothing, without a creator. The Big Bang Theory came out of nothing. There was no space, there is no time, there is no matter, there is nothing. There was one chickpea, like sand grain, and that sand grain presented everything we know now. Time and space and matter and energy and emotion and life and everything. You know, it is like the fairy tale of frog to princess, or frog to prince. In Christian views, we say everything came into existence out of nothing, but with a creator who said, let it be light, then light came. Logic. Everything has to have a cause. Nothing could be without a cause. So the difference is they believe in ex nihilo, and Christians believe in ex nihilo. So the difference is the creator. Where would you put the creator in the equation? So origin of life is a bit amazing. There is almost 7 theories of origin of lives, and I have to remind you what a theory means. It's a hypothesis never proven. So one of them is called the primordial soup, RNA, that Michael spoke about, the importance of having the RNA to develop and to unzip the DNA to produce life. And there's the simple metabolism and reactions. There's the spark, and they tried their best to, they spent few decades actually trying to find or to create life, and they said they couldn't, and they said there is no intelligent source for life, though they have tried their best intelligence to create life. Chill bang It is like the Big Bang, but for life. Life came out of ice, or clay breeding ground, or hydrothermal vents, or panspermia theory, that life actually came from extraterrestrial. And this is what Michael was referring to, that the pyramids are built by an ET tribe coming from space. And by the way, it's a fabricated picture. Okay, sorry, but yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the panspermia is again, you are exporting your problem to another planet. You could not solve your problem on planet Earth, so there must be more smarter people on the outer space there that helped. And these people, actually, the inverted pyramids, came to check on our growth and on our safety, because they implemented the seed on Earth a few million years ago. So biblical view with a scientific flavor here. We say in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That is the first verse in the book of Genesis, the first ever verse in the Bible. We can say in the beginning, God created the astronomy and the geology. Moses. Yes, we have got internal proofs. We have got internal proofs and external proofs that Moses wrote Genesis. So God created man in his own image, in the image of God. He created him male and female. He created them. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. And that is Genesis 1:27, the last verse in this chapter, which means God created anthropology on the sixth day. So since the sixth day, we have got a continuous story without any gaps. Remember, remind you, the theory of evolution is the theory of gaps. The theory of creation does not have any gap whatsoever in the creation. And we're going to go explore that together. Yes, Michael? Sorry? Female God? No. On his image is purity, holiness, intellectuality, luminous. So on his image does not mean the physical image of a male or a female. Because God is genderless. We have got a simple biblical geoanthropological time scale. I've got the creation week. Day 1 to 5, we didn't have any humans there. And day 6, God created male and female, Adam and Eve. And some people say that after 33 years of their creation, or 3.5 years of their creations, I'm not sure, Adam and Eve fell and disobeyed God. And then the pre-flood period from Adam, when he expelled from the Garden of Eden, till the birth of, or till the time of the flood, we have 1652 years according to the Masoretic version of the Bible. It is different to another version called the Septuagint. But it is not that a major problem. You can say, in evolution, they say plus or minus few billion years. We can safely say here plus or minus 500 years. So this period of time, 1652 years pre-flood, is what I call the lost civilization. And I'll come back to that. And then the flood period is 371 days, or 370 days. The difference is 1 to 2 days in our calculations. And water was covering the entire earth. So the three periods, the paradise period, the pre-flood period, there was humans living on earth, and then after the flood, or during the flood time, there was no humans. Then we have, at the end of the flood, people settling, and we have got the famous story of the Tower of Babel of the confusion of tongues, and then the dispersion, which was referred to in the previous presentation as the Major Ice Age, and then the pre-dynastic civilization, dynastic civilization, and then the modern civilization that we live now. This period, the post-flood period, is around 5,300 years, and it is divided into BC and AD, or BCE and AD as some people, or CE as some people refer to. This is a very famous artifact in London, America, not London, England. It's called London Hammer, and they dated the limestone around the hammer, and they found the limestone is 400 million years. 400 million years. The alloy of the hammer is iron and titanium, which is not known to us how they did that 400 million years, before even the apes were created. Anyways, part of the hand of the hammer actually turned into carbon, coal. How old it is. Then people who lived 400 million years must be very clever. This is not a very important chart, but it shows you how we came with the 1656 years of the lost civilization from the Bible. And the lost civilization, I'd like to talk a little bit about it from culture and civilization point of view. Number one, it's actually a long period of time. Imagine now we have got to start the world from zero time. And after 1600 years, what do you think you will see? Lots and lots of technology. Imagine that you are walking in the streets of Egypt sometime around 500 BC, 1000 BC. You would see doctors, you would see medicinals, you would see builders, masons, all kinds of stuff, because they developed a lot during the 16th centuries. And according to the Bible, they lived very long times, reaching 169 years. So if you started a project now, and you have got 500, 600 years to complete your project, probably you will be able to finish that project. And they used to have one language, the Adamaic language. So there was no language barrier. They communicated with each other with one language. There was no problems in communication. And also they lived in close-by communities. So they didn't need to travel or to work hard to complete their projects. And it was a cleaner environment. And also there was plenty of oxygen at that time. From the fossil record, we can say that oxygen was more than the oxygen that we have today. In the Bible, it mentions that there was around more than 85 disciplines and branches of science and technology during this lost civilization, from making tents, garments, to building arks that can accommodate for all the animals in the world, painting with tar, cutting rocks, cutting wood, everything. They didn't have any problems with the know-how. They explored for gold, for iron, and this is probably what is referred to the first mineral age and the first stone age and the first things like that. So more than 85 disciplines of science and technology was known in the lost civilization. Noah and his descendants, after they landed the ark, they traveled to a place called Shinar. Shinar is in the Mesopotamian area. Shinar means two rivers, which is referring to Degla and Euphrates. Okay, Degla is, what is in English? Hmm? Okay, the two rivers of Iraq, Euphrates and we call it Digla. Okay, the tigers. Shinar is probably the same civilization of the Sumerian civilization. Similarities, and I could show you lots of information about the Sumerian civilization and how you can get from Shinar to Sumer or Sumer very easily with the phonetics. And the Sumerian civilization was unique. They spoke a language never known before. They wrote it in a very special way, and they had libraries, and they had very well advanced technology. This is what we believe is the first civilization on planet Earth after the flood. Unfortunately, it was destroyed like this. We don't know why, according to the secular science, but we know because it was the time of Peleg when they had lots of earthquakes and volcanoes during the Oligocene. The Sumerian language, which is the male cuneiform language, is not repeated again in history. And amazingly, you could find the Sumerian language, or similar to the Sumerian language, in places like Bolivia. How did it go to Bolivia? And the last thing in this slide is Noah's descendants started new civilizations after their dispersion. And this is what would explain why at around 6,000 years from now, or 4,000 years before Christ, all civilization prospered. The Egyptians, the Chinese, the Ethiopians, the Iraqi, the Babylonians, all of them started at the same time amazingly. And passing down the knowledge, number one, this is the common thing, is oral traditions. If grandfather would tell his grandchild what was happening in his days, but written documentation is a very important thing, because these people were very clever in recording everything. You go to chapter 5 of the book of Genesis and you find this sentence: this is the book of the genealogy of Adam. So it is a book inserted in the book of Genesis. It means that he got this information from a pre-existing document and inserted in there. And as I told you, Sumerian libraries were so flourished, they used to write on plate and clay plates and solve them in a very clever way and indexing them very well. Moses lived in the palace of the Pharaoh, and he had access to all the pharaonic documentations, and he was more than bilingual. I believe he spoke 3 languages because he lived in Egypt. He knew Aramaic or Hebrew, and he also went to Midian when he married his first or his wife back then. So he was trilingual, very well educated, had access to the libraries of the Pharaoh's palace, and he was very smart as well. I'm sorry for the Arabic writing here, but this is the time spans of the patriarch from Adam to Jacob, and you can see that many patriarchs lived contemporaneously with Noah, and I could dare to say Adam has got many sons after Seth. Probably one of Adam's descendants, one of Adam's children, could have lived together with Noah. The difference between Adam and Seth, birth and death, is 17 years. So, sorry, between Seth and Noah is 17 years from here to here. So if Adam had another child, could have overlapped this gap, and then the direct information, or Noah got his information directly from Adam's children. However, many patriarchs lived with Noah, and could have told him everything. And this area here is the people who was contemporaneously living with Shem as well. So it takes only one link to get from Adam to Shem to get all the information of a paradise and the exile and everything. And this chart here shows that between Shem and Moses was only 275 years, and you have got 2 or 3 people just overlapping this. So the handover was simple, not a big deal there. One of the great evidences of the truthfulness and ingenuity of the Bible is the pattern of migration that is told to us in the in chapter 10 and chapter 11 of Genesis. Chapter 10 is the table of nations, and very easy you can see here. This is where we had the Tower of Babel problem, where Nimrod was the one who started the building the Tower of Babel. And by the way, I think the Tower of Babel is a prototype for all pyramids that are around the world. Because pyramids around the world, they are similar in the concept. And I don't know why I would have spent all this time building a huge monument like this. It is not, of course, for burial. It is not meant for burial. Probably they had other uses for pyramids. Here in China, they discovered a pyramid under one of the lakes there, I don't remember the name, which is very much older. It is destroyed and much older than the pyramids, which some people say it is pre-diluvial pyramid. So obviously the pyramids concept was there in the lost civilization, and after the deluge, after the Noah's flood, they wanted to re-erect their pyramid system again. So Nimrod wanted to build that tower there, but this is not my point here. You can, for example, see the pattern of the names of the descendants of Ham, the second son, which is the brown pattern here. Ham left with his people, his descendants, and you find Salah, or in North Saudi Arabia, Siba, Sheba, Havilah, Cush, Lodim, Nabil, تسمع عن الوديم مدينة الوديم الدويم الدويم كسلوحيم built Kasala here Misraim built Misr, Egypt. Anamim, you know, the ancient Egyptians, Aramaic, Hebrew, and most ancient languages did not have vowels. So we have, for example, Amun, Tutankhamun. It was not Amun. It was written in the ancient Egyptian language, Amen. But we, because of the oral traditions and how people pronounce the names, we know that it was called Amun. So here we have Anamim, which is most probably Mina Narmer. Patrosim, Ham, in Psalm 105, verse 22, David, the prophet, the psalmist say that Egypt is the land of Ham. And Egypt's first name is Chemet. Chem is actually Ham. So the Bible tells us that Ham lived in Egypt and it was called after his name. Cush is one of Ham's children. And then you come here, Batrosim, which is Vetras, and Lubim, Libya, which is currently Libya. Put, Fayat, Bayad in Egypt now. And then Kaftorim, one of the grandchildren of Mitzrayim, was kicked out and lived in Crete, together with Philistine, who was kicked out from Crete and went to Israel now, or Philistine now. And the fourth son is Canaan. The model that they are trying to tell us that the pattern of migration went through northern Sinai, but northern Sinai at the time, according to my interpretation, which is the Miocene, was covered with water, and they couldn't do that. So they moved southeast and crossed from here to there. You have here Ophir, which is Valley of Afar, in Somalia, Ethiopia, and Eritrea. Ophir actually is one of the sons of Joktan, which is Joktan, Bani Joktan in Saudi Arabia. Hadramaut is the current city in our current state in South Saudi Arabia. Now you will have Elam, Midian, you have Ashur. Actually, this area, the Levant, is called El-Shem, Shem, the other son of Noah, Shem, El-Shem, till now. So Sidon still exists. Japheth is very amazing. The only name that was called, or the only name that was said that he went to the islands, from the three children of Noah. Why? Because Europe at that time was islands covered with water during Middle Miocene. And they say that Noah traveled north east and dwelled in China and established the Chinese first empire. And the first emperor in China was called Foa, which is very close to Noah. I don't know, I'm not sure of this, but there are references for that. What I wanted to say here before I leave this slide is during the time of this dispersion, all the continents were attached together in the southern hemisphere. That's why this area was all savanna area and bushes area. That's why we have lots of cave drawings with savanna animals, and as Michael said, that was the very populated area, and it produced wheat for the entire ancient world at the time. This is a footprint that in King Saudi Arabia 85,000 years ago. It is not any different than a homo sapien footprint. You can check the site there. This is, why I'm showing this, to show you the rock paintings across the area, or across the pathway they took from Babel towards the south in their travel to Egypt. And because it is ancient drawings, it's not very clear, but you can see savanna animals in the area. There is here a very interesting animal. I'm not sure what is it. Very long neck. It could be a giraffe. I'm not sure. In Egypt, pre-dynastic Egypt, or what we call the Naqada civilization. The Naqada civilization was in this area between Egypt and Sudan. And this is pre-dynastic, which means they were just still going on, not settled yet, which is the Stone Age in some other terms. This area here is called, it's west of Aswan, and we have a Stonehenge thing that used to be a space observatory, like the Stonehenges in England and in Saudi Arabia. This is pre-dynastic in Stone Age. Imagine they were observing the space in a Stone Age. An interesting painting here, don't know whether this is an elephant or two elephants, a male elephant, but it is much bigger than a normal elephant, because if you put it to scale to the cow down there, it's a huge one. Could be a mammoth, I'm not sure. But here, something very weird is going on here. What do you think this is? Let me highlight it. It's a lion attacking another giraffe. Not giraffe. Of course, this is not a giraffe. Right? What is this? It's a Brachiosaurus, basically. Brachiosaurus. And the artist was very clever that he left the bite of the lion of his image. So dinosaurs were seen by people. They could live together. We have got another dinosaur there, where St. George is. And this is another, what is this? Crocodile? Do crocodile walk on four legs with the legs up, or they walk on four legs with the legs down? This is not a crocodile, of course. But look at this. A soldier is hunting this creature. And that was probably 17th, 18th century. If this is not enough evidence to say that people used to live with dinosaurs and with other animals, this is Tabuk area, north of Saudi Arabia, which is called Midian back then, and this is Kuwait. I'm going to show you a couple of examples from Tabuk and Kuwait. What do you think this is? A giraffe? Do you think this is a giraffe? Dinosaur. And dogs or wolves attacking another dinosaur there? Strange, right? And here's, what is this? Horizontal giraffe, where dogs or wolves are attacking this dinosaur again. This actually has got 3 painting layers. And the dinosaur is the 3rd layer, the most recent layer there. In 2017 in Kuwait, they discovered this cave painting. So interesting, so interesting. This gentlemen here, or I don't know, could be ladies, are herding bulls and cows. This one here is spearing or hunting. Of course not, he's lazy. He's hunting these 2 weird things here. What are they? Dinosaurs, right? Could they be anything else? What? Aliens. And you have got here, they are partying. This one, I believe, would be, I'm not sure, four-legged dinosaur. And here they were partying. This is a pot over fire, and relaxing and probably a dancing girl. I'm not sure, but it is really a nice scene, recently discovered in Kuwait, 2017. When I went to Egypt in last year in February, I went and checked the pre-dynastic Egyptian section. And guess what? These are gold with diorite, and they use this for decoration. And these beads, they were very clever in creating, artifacts. And they were also clever in having fun. Small animals, a dagger with a gold-plated hand, and all of the hippopotamus or something like this. And this is pre-dynastic. Imagine how much technology and skills they put in producing such things. And again, these are some of the toys and monuments and birds and Homo sapiens thinking there, pots, small pots there for perfumes and for makeup. This is before the first dynasty in Egypt. And the new gold, the extracted gold, the new geology and mining and metal formation is very advanced, the pre-dynastic Egyptians. And again, how could I, who lives in not settled in environment and community, get to this very spherical head with primitive tools? Actually, let me say something about this. A couple of years now, they discovered in Ethiopia, in Lake Tana, a pyramid similar to the pyramids of Egypt that is much older than the pyramids of Egypt, under the water. And there are containers in that pyramids, or around the pyramids, I'm not sure, that contains a liquid that yet they did not define what the liquid is. But everything they put in the liquid, it dissolves. Very strong acid. Hopefully they will reveal to us what is that. Again, this is some of the artifacts in the museum. This one here, I was so amazed. It's brass statue, and they connected each piece of the statue with nails and bullets in a very sophisticated mechanism. I don't think if we know how to replicate that again. This is how it was supposed to look like, but it's another statue of brass, but this is what's left of this, and you can see the nuts and bullets there. And this is the famous shield of Menon armor, the one who unified Egypt. But let me ask you, what are these two animals who are hugging each other? Again, dinosaurs, right? So we together with the group of the BGG, we developed what we call the Bible Geoanthropological Time Scale, or as suggested, the BGATS. And I will not bother you with all the details, but it is compared to the geological time scale, but on a biblical scale. And we tried to understand how the events of the Bible worked in geology, still under development, but through this technique, we managed to discover lots of resources in Egypt and in Libya. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much. Any questions? Got few charts there. You can check them on how tight the ages of the Bible, that there is no gaps between the ages of the Bible from Adam to the 19th century. Of course, the Bible does not date after the 1st century, but you can check on that. And a couple of posters there, how the archaeology supports the Bible, and how the Bible is the eyewitness to our lives and to our world. When God created the world, He gave us the manifesto, the manual for the world to understand. So people throw doubts on the Bible. They have been doing that for the past few hundred years, but still the Bible every day is proving right. One of the few studies actually for the mitochondria said that mitochondria is traced back to one male origin and 4 female origins. So we had 4 mothers and 1 Y. one father, because the Y does not change. So Noah passed it down to his 3 children. However, we have 4 mothers, that is Noah and the 3 wives of his children. And another study, again on genetic and the DNA, say that all the creation, all the species in the world has maximum life of 200,000 years. And 90% of them has got, it's someone called Mark who did this study, 90% of this, it was done on 5 million specimens. 90% has got one father and one mother, or one male father and one female mother, and 10% probably are the clean animals that Noah took with him on the boat. So 90% was unclean animals, 10% was clean animals, and they all go back to not more than 200,000 years. And Mark and Ital was very reluctant to publish this paper because it would disappoint all those who believe in evolution and deep time. Actually, there is another, but I wouldn't bother you. There's lots of good studies now to say that the radioactive age dating is exaggerated because they did not take in account the water content of the aqueous environment of the media, and also the repetitive heating of the same material. Someone, I've got his presentation here, say that radioactive material rework itself every time there are volcanoes. So when it shows me, say, for example, 70,000 years, when it is subjected to another episode of volcanoes, it would show me 2 million years. Another episode of volcanoes, it would show me 10 million years. However, it does not say that. Radioactive age dating is completely faulty because they rely on 4 assumptions. Number 1 assumption, that is the system is sealed. We don't have a sealed system in the world. Number 2 assumption is we know the mother element. We don't know how much was the mother element. Number 3, we assume that all the elements in the sample is created by, the daughter element of the sample is created by decay. This is not true. Number 4 assumption is that the decay rate is constant, which again is not true because we managed to alter the decay rate in the labs. So we cannot rely on 4 assumptions to create facts. So the DNA is working for the benefit of the creation. The radioactive age dating now is very doubtful. The recent study suggests that we got the light, the age of the universe is wrong by 2.4 billion years. And they said, finally, we got it right. It is not 13.7 billion years. It is only 11.3 billion years. They slashed 17 to 18% of the age of the universe. So every time they change their mind according to their researches, we appreciate that. But our Bible is our rock. Never it changes. Thank you again. Any questions, Michael?
You go on. You make lots of statements about ages, but you back it up with no facts or thing. You just make these statements that this is this age, this was that age. This one moved here, that one moved there, without any factual backup whatsoever.
You may be right, but I think the rock paintings and the cave drawings speaks for themselves that people lived with dinosaurs. So. Okay, then what do you think they are? This is the difference between blind faith and certain faith. You don't know lots of answers. We believe that we know all the answers because we have got the Bible. If we see? We see no dinosaur fossils after the KT boundary. This is wrong. This is wrong, I'm sorry. There are dinosaur fossils up to the Miocene. Then what? Okay, let me show you. I hope. Of course, of course. No, I appreciate the amount of knowledge that Michael has got, and I know that reading for Hawkins would, of course, affect his way of thinking, and reading the Bible would affect my way of thinking. I tend to believe in God rather than Hawkins. So this is how I am, but you are free to believe in whatever God you want. I didn't say that. Most who believe in evolution are atheists. Most. Okay, maybe some of them. Theistic evolution, yes. Theistic evolution say yes, there is God, but atheistic evolution, yeah. So if I believe in God, I believe in His book, I believe in His messenger. Jesus said to us on this account that if you believe in Moses, you must believe in me. So if you don't believe in Moses, this is the words, the exact wordings of Jesus. If you do not believe in Moses, you don't believe in me. So we have to think, is it only the Old Testament that we are not convinced with, or that will jeopardize our faith in the New Testament? And he said so many quotes. I wrote a full book on Moses in the New Testament. So many quotes from the creation. In the beginning, God created Adam and Eve. That is Jesus saying this. So if I don't believe in this, I don't believe in what Jesus says, which is really, really concerning. So if I doubt one of his words, I should doubt everything else he did for me.
For by him, and this is Jesus, for by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him, who is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Colossians chapter 1, verses 16 and 17. So there's no mention of evolution in the Bible, but there's many, many references to God being the maker of heaven and earth, numerous, and Jesus himself created.
Thank you very much, yes. I think to keep the time simple, I know we will have lots of discussion about this issue, because again it's a huge thing. It is the two camps are based on faith. There is no science in this. When I say I don't know about anything, then it's not science. It is based on faith. I appreciate and I respect everyone's faith on this, but what makes me a bit, not very content is when I say this is science. There is two types of science. Science that I can do in the lab, I can observe with my eyes, and there is historical science. We studied in geology, historical geology. So historical geology is like forensic science. It's up to interpretation. It's scientific interpretation, but it could vary from one world's view to the other world view. I hope that we can continue this faithful discussion and strong discussion. I'm very happy to have Franco with us tonight.
What to say? I'm a bit at a loss. Getting old, loss of hearing. And I've been asking myself questions fairly regularly. How did God come into being? Are we going to answer that? And He created a sun to save the world. I find it so difficult, I don't know what to say. I would love to believe, but unfortunately, maybe my father and mother should have called me Thomas.
Franco, you are talking with frankness.
And I don't know. Again, the scientists, they say about this Big Bang. But what brought the Big Bang about? I don't know. But it's a beautiful world, and I want to enjoy it as much as I can.
Thank you, Franco. But to answer your question, very simple and logical. There is two laws of nature. The first law of nature is the law of causality. Everything has got a cause to get existed. This bench was made by a carpenter, and so on. But the other law of nature is called the aggressive regression fallacy, which means if I add 1 to infinity, to be infinity. If I add 100 to infinity, it would be infinity. If I add infinity to infinity, it would be infinity. So you cannot add anything to the first cause. There must be a first cause for everything. This is what is called also the first mover. For this is, laws of Newton. To move a thing, you have to have a cause to move the thing. If you don't apply the force, it won't move. So God is the first cause, according to the logical and explanation that you cannot add to infinity anything else. It will still become infinity. Right? But I cannot say that this bench came out of nowhere. It descended from the Big Bang. And the Big Bang created time and space. It's easier for me to believe in a creator than just blind, purposeless, and headless operation that's called evolution. Theistic evolution believes that God causes the evolution to happen, which is good. But it contradicts with the givings of the Old Testament and the New Testament. So there is, as Jesus said, you cannot get fig from an olive tree, or you see, you cannot. Fig tree will give you figs. Olive trees will give you olives. Horse will beget horse. It won't beget a lion. This is, at least, I understand, of course, Michael's concerns.
I mean, say, infinity is just a concept that we have. No one knows what infinity is. I mean to say, it's just something out there that we know mathematically exists. Okay, that is infinity God? Is infinity not God? You can't say.
No, we believe that God is infinite. This is what we believe.
But what does that mean? God is infinite. What does that mean? Doesn't mean anything.
He doesn't have a beginning nor an end. He's the first cause.
Yeah, but I mean to say, the causal theory comes out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Rerum Novarum, and these 9 proofs, or, how do you put it? They're not proofs, they're sort of, what do you call them? I forget, existence for the existence of God, some of which are proved to be wrong, of course, subsequently, but the first mover is one of his prime hypotheses, yeah.
Well, I didn't get anything out of my mind, just from other people who I appreciate and believe in. Thank you very much. I think it is, and it was a very healthy discussion.